Welcome to the show, everybody. Joseph Robert, the fantasy football counselor, and we are back, and Tim is here.
We're back.
Massive episode. We're talking fantasy football sleepers 2020, and we're talking about running backs that could break into the top 10.
That's right, guys, that could make it.
Huge episode. We're back. Let's get to it.
So you wanna go hard? So you wanna be the greatest? Your life is a fantasy, and it's all for the taking. Cause this time is now, and I gotta get it. I'm a beast, I'm a freak when it comes to winning. Eyes on the prize like it's television. All room, no bust, no room, your prize. So you wanna go hard?
Welcome to the show, everybody. We are back on video. I'm super excited. Fantasy Football Sleepers 2020, the very, very early discussion. And we are talking about the guys that could break in the top 10 that are sleepers at running back. So Tim is in the studio. What's going on, Tim?
Hi, everybody.
Good to be back.
It is great to be back.
How was your mini vacation there?
Look at it. I grew this out. I mean, this was really like down to my boobies, and I had to trim it up to make it look okay.
Tim is back in action. I'm excited, man. I know it's March. It's March 6th today. But listen, it's never too early to talk about fantasy football. And let's just get right to it. I mean, actually, we should do a giveaway. So we are giving away a DeAndre Hopkins, okay, guys, signed card. And this is a numbered
one card.
Yeah, 5 out of 25, Tim. So it's a beautiful card. It's a gold platinum Panini card. We are going to give this away. And to win this, guys, very, very simple. Like this video, comment, say I want it, and we're going to enter you for the draw. And next time we do a show where we're together, we're going to announce the winner for this. So our sit-down shows, which are typically Mondays and Thursdays, but it's kind of off-season, so we're kind of here and there now.
Right.
Typically Mondays and Thursdays.
So easy peasy. Like and comment.
That's it.
Done.
Also, what we're going to be doing, guys, on the show is leave a question below, and all of your questions are going to be answered potentially. I get back to as many as I can, but we're going to pick select a few that we really like, and we're going to announce them on the show as well.
That's right. So, if you ask us something stupid, you're out.
Absolutely. So be creative, be fun, be witty, but also keep it clean, guys. Okay, so questions for fantasy football below, and again, for the card. All right, so let's get into this, Tim. Let's talk about, first of all, let's review last year's top 10 running backs. And here's why I hate the mainstream. Here's why I hate the it's the consensus rankings, is because literally what they're going to do, everybody, I got multiple cameras here, so I'm going to be bouncing back and forth. This is exciting, Tim, new setup. So what I'm going to be doing here, Tim, is telling you that not to listen to the consensus rank, because literally copying and pasting last year's rankings. So that's what I'm seeing already with the consensus. They're telling you, you got to draft Christian McCaffrey first. Then you got to go you got to have Aaron Jones in the top 5 as well. I don't like that. So we got to stray away. So we want to talk about guys that could break into that top 10 potentially into the season, next season.
Right. Mind you, we do have our own lists of the top 20 players, that the guys that we think are going to be there as well. So when you and I always argue about this, you always talk about the consensus. When I'm looking at this, I'm only thinking 2 guys could potentially drop off this top 10 list, as far as what I'm going to give my advice to you guys for. However, there are like 4 or 5 guys that I think could easily jump into the top 10. So it's not like I'm changing the list just for the sake of changing the list. I'm looking at the reasons why. So when I do that, like I say, only 2 guys that I think could really drop off this list.
All right, so let's not spend too much time on recapping last year's guys, but let's go over it because you guys know who they are. Christian McCaffrey dominating, had such a pinnacle year. People thinking of drafting him first overall. It's going to be different this year. I'm telling you right now.
I don't care. CMC has been amazing for the last 2-3 years. And last year, like you say, he destroyed everybody, 160 points more than the next closest guy, roughly. That's insane.
Understand,
how can you not take him?
Here's why you're not going to take him first overall. Because he had 471 points, very hard to replicate. I think Priest Holmes is the only running back that's done it in the past 15, 20 years. Very hard to replicate. How is he going to have 471 points?
Even if he has 400.
Okay.
He's a number 1 pick.
All right. But another thing is that they got to acquire, the Panthers have to acquire a wide receiver. DJ Moore is not going to do it. And also the quarterback situation suspect. Is he going to continue to be the focal point? 116 receptions. If I'm the new coach, I say, okay, 116 receptions, that's our running back. Let's get a wide receiver that can catch that much.
Unless they bring in a AB, someone really high caliber, you're not going to take those touches away from CMC.
Okay, we're gonna do a top 10 episodes. We're not gonna elaborate too much more on this. Aaron Jones came in at number 2. Zeke Elliott came in at number 3. Solid and consistent is Zeke Elliott. That's why I like him so much, Tim. I mean, he's right in there. Austin Eckler at 4. I don't see him being in the top 10 this year. It's a long story. Unless maybe Melvin Gordon gets shipped off and he becomes a primary back. I doubt it. Derrick Henry, 5. Dalvin Cook, 6. I don't see him finishing this next year. There's no way. He blew his load. That's a whole other discussion. Doing a separate video. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Doing a separate video on why not to draft Dalvin Cook and Nick Chubb this year. They're going to be overinflated in value. Fournette came in at 7. Nick Chubb at 8. Alvin Kamara at 9. Saquon at 10. And Saquon was hurt for a bunch of games.
Yeah.
Still cracked the top 10 with a terrible O-line and a suspect quarterback situation where a rookie quarterback was coming in first year, getting into the groove. So who is going to crack the top 10? Now, Tim's got a list of players here and I got a list of guys that could potentially crack the top 10. It's going to be very interesting to see who these guys are and why.
First of all, the only two that I think could really fall out of this and could fall out fairly easily are Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb. And it's pretty self-explanatory, right? With Chubb, he's got Kareem Hunt now to deal with for the full season, not
if he's
just
there.
8 games.
He's a free agent, Kareem. So
we have to take it for what it is right now. Right now, we consider them on the same team. Chubb is very low in receiving. Right. And then with Kareem Hunt there, when Kareem came in, he actually did the bulk of the receiving as far as the running backs go.
Right.
So he's got that to contend with. For Henry, I mean, he had a banner year, man. And he's a beast. Don't get me wrong. He is an absolute beast. But it was all just high yardage and a high number of TDs. And it's very easy for him to not achieve that same number this year.
Well, yeah, Nick Chubb, I agree with you. Derrick Henry, I got to disagree because if he becomes the main guy there, he's not necessarily top 5 numbers, but I still think he's going to stay in the top 10.
And could be, but I'm saying, I think he's one that could be, and he doesn't necessarily need to fall off in numbers for one of these other guys to leapfrog in front of him. So that can push him down.
Right. All right, who else do you got on the list here?
Those are the guys that I think could fall out. Now, you said Eckler. You thought Eckler could fall out.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a true workhorse running back. 132 attempts last year. That's not enough for me. 557 yards. He makes it up in the receiving.
Exactly. It's the PPR aspect of this that brings in Eckler.
But here's the thing. He's always a guy that you're going to want to compliment, similar to Alvin Kamara. Great guy. Yes, he makes a top 5 and 10. Kamara does, but he's special talent. Eckler is good, but he's not on Kamara's talent. I think they're going to have to find someone to compliment Eckler, whether it be Gordon staying there or Eckler just, or them getting a rookie to complement Eckler. I'm not sold him finishing top 10. Again, we got to look at these situations. That's why free agency is critical, and so is the NFL draft in regards to how the depth charts line up. And that's why 16 rounds. Yes, it's available for pre-order at thefantasyfootballcounselor.com. Plug it in there. But you got to understand that I don't really get deep diving into this heavily till after the NFL draft.
Of course, it makes sense.
All right, so who else? Now, it's going to fall out. Those are the only two.
That's the only 2 for me, and the one for you, Eckler, you kind of threw in there as well.
Cook's not going to, for me, who's going to fall out? I think it's going to be Cook, Chubb, and Eckler.
You always say Cook, though, just because he's injury prone, you say. And even though he missed 2 games last year.
Completely blew his load last year. I mean, he was on his last legs. I mean, he was done. He didn't finish the 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and then this past year, couldn't even make it to the playoff. He just basically fought to make it just to get a big contract. And then again, he's saying he's going to hold out unless he gets paid big dollars. So I'm not dealing with these drama queens. The hell with it. Staying away from Dalvin Cook, not even worth being. If he can't finish 3 years, full season, not even one out of those 3 years, you're not going to be in my top 10. Forget it.
Yeah. So you have a hate on for Cookie, but I think he's still, even in those 3 years, he still finishes really well. So he is a little injury prone. He's going to miss a game here and there, but he's still
a little injury prone. He hasn't finished a year in 3 seasons.
1 or 2 games. I don't care. That's not a big deal.
He is a cripple. All right, move on here.
Okay, so guys that could jump into the top 10.
Who could jump in?
And of course, the top on my list is going to be Josh Jacobs.
Who could crack in? I agree with that. I actually currently have Josh Jacobs in my top 10. I like him. Depends on what the Raiders do with the quarterback situation, how things are going to pan out, but I definitely see him cracking that top 10. Yeah, I agree with you, Tim.
Playing for a mediocre team, mediocre to okay team, only 13 games, 1,150 yards, 7 TDs. He can easily increase on his numbers, especially in the receiving aspect too. He didn't do much in receiving last year, so it'd be very easy for him to get into that top 10. The next one is a guy that you hated last year, but he came in and got the job done, Kenyon Drake.
Kenyon Drake, here's the deal now. From what I'm hearing, I posted it on my Insta. He wants $8 million a year, which is big money. He's only played like 3 or 4 good games his entire season. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to give him a little credit. Maybe 6 to 7 games. He had 4 or 5 good games in Arizona. A couple good games in Miami. I understand Miami doesn't help anybody in regards to the running game. So maybe it was the offense he was in. Either way, he did better with Arizona. Not amazing, but did better. But I don't think, from what I'm hearing, Arizona might not be able to afford him based on their cap. They may end up staying with David Johnson because they've invested a lot in him. We're going to have to see how this goes out, how it plays out. But Detroit, a potential candidate for Drake, that could be a disaster for him because Detroit doesn't put out and produce good running backs as well. I mean, if he stays in Arizona, David Johnson gets shipped off or stays sidelined. Kenyon Drake does have top 10 potential based on that scenario.
Right, and you've kind of hit on it. So to me, Kenyon Drake is a very up and down player. He will have some amazing weeks, and then he will have several low weeks. I think he had several weeks last year where he was like 4 to 6, 4 to 8 points. Like, he is a DFS type player to me. But when you do look at the year long, he's going to put up some good numbers overall. It's just he's very sporadic, and he may cost you some weeks.
Right. That's the thing. You don't want that volatility, especially when you're going to invest high pick on him. And I think if he stays in Arizona in that perfect kind of scenario I mentioned, you're going to be looking at a higher draft pick, probably a second round. I think he's going to be similarly drafted to the way Damian Williams was last year, where a lot of people were high on him. He came on strong near the end of the year. People drank the Kool-Aid. They bought the hype, and I'm not going to buy it. I'm just not. I need to see more out of him. And but definitely a guy that could crack that top 10.
Right. So another one that I've got I thought was maybe a little bit of a reach, but in talking to you before this, you said, no, you agree. And you actually, I think, have him on your top 10 list, Miles Sanders.
Yeah. I mean, Miles Sanders is a touchy situation because we got to see if the Eagles rely on him to be their primary back. Are they going to draft another back? How good is that running back if he's drafted? If he's a rookie coming in, is he going to dip into the volume? How is free agency going to work? If they make Miles Sanders the focal point of that offense, let me repeat this. If they make Miles Sanders the focal point of that offense, then you've got something here. You got something special in Miles Sanders. And he came on near the end of the season. He wasn't fully integrated last season, but he still had 818 yards. And you got to look at it. He finished 15th in PPR amongst running backs with only 3 touchdowns. So imagine if they integrate him. Imagine if he gets, 6 touchdowns. It even doubles that. You're going to see a major increase in fantasy production, an increase on that 218 PPR fantasy points that he had, if they believe in him.
Yeah,
big if.
That's exactly my thinking too. And just to clarify, 3 rushing, 3 receiving last year.
Right.
So there is a lot of room for increase, and that's why I put him here as one of those guys who could crack as well.
All right, any other people?
This one shouldn't shock anybody. This is Melvin Gordon. So once again, you're going to come into the Eckler, Melvin Gordon, free agency, what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. But everybody knows Melvin Gordon. I mean, the guy can perform, so you got to put him there. Like, if he gets the full season healthy on a good team, he's definitely there.
I agree. Depends on where he lands. Yep. Who else can crack? Who else can crack the top 10?
Those are my guys, man. I mean, obviously there's a million you could say, but these are my guys that I really think have an easy shot of cracking the top 10. So I'm not going to go into all the, this guy could, this could. These are my guys.
So you stole some of my guys, but I'm going to throw some people in here, just a couple names here that you want to keep on your radar. And a lot of this is dependent and predicated on that perfect scenario. And I think a lot of people are forgetting about this guy, Todd Gurley.
I don't think we're forgetting, man. And I'm actually surprised that you bring him up because you were a guy that hated the whole arthritis thing.
I know, but you got to know when to hold him and when to fold him. And I really feel that the Rams realize that, hey, he's a huge investment for us. We kind of sat on him and preserved him. They're playing preservation the first 6 to 8 weeks and realized, hey, man, we got to make the playoffs now. Crap, man. And then Todd Gurley's kind of came on near the end of the season. I think if I'm the Rams, I'd say, hey, he's our investment. If he breaks, he breaks. So be it. But if we don't utilize him, we're not making the playoffs. Todd Gurley finished 14th, and he was in preservation mode the first 6 weeks. So I would say Todd Gurley is a guy you may want to consider. His yards per carry was 3.8. Still managed to get 12 touchdowns. I'd like to see the yardage go up from 857. So Todd Gurley is a guy that could crack the top 10. I like that word, crack. I like that, yeah. So he's one guy. Do you see that or no?
Yes and no. I still think they're going to preserve him. I think his years of being the workhorse back are done, especially when it comes to running the ball. I don't think those knees can handle it.
All right, another guy that could crack the top 10 is Devin Singletary. But there's a big but. I don't know if the Buffalo Bills believe in him as the sole running back. I still think he may be slightly undersized. I mean, he can catch the ball. He can do some good things. But Buffalo, I mean, they got to look at the whole situation. Now, McCoy was there at the beginning of the season. He got shipped off. He's got fumbleitis. He's pretty much done for. Actually, McCoy now on a side tangent is saying that he still wants to play. And he's still, I mean, he won a Super Bowl ring, but he was pretty much shelved with the Chiefs. He's just fumbling. Anyway, long story short, Devin Singletary, if he is the sole running back, they don't acquire anybody else, and they believe in him, similar to the Miles Sanders situation. A bit of a long shot here, but he could do some good things.
I say it will also depend on Josh Allen. Josh Allen ran a lot last year. So if they want to preserve him a little more and they bring in some help, Singletary could be a guy that really jumps forward, but Josh Allen has to stop running the ball in order to make that happen.
All right. Speaking of cracking the top 10, you may want to crack me in the top of my head here for this one.
I always do.
You ready for this one? A guy that could crack the top 10. Leave a comments below. I'm really curious to hear your feedback on this one, guys. David Johnson.
It depends, right?
It depends on where he lands.
This is a huge reach, yeah.
Now, if he stays on Arizona, we know Kingsbury doesn't like him. He's done. Forget it. But if he gets on a good team, maybe if he ends up on Tampa Bay, you never know. He could have a good opportunity there.
Wait, did you just call Tampa Bay a good team?
No, a good opportunity there. I think, I mean, there could be a good opportunity. We've got to see what happens with Winston, what happens there. That could be really exciting. Arians and him could be a good combination. It depends. Again, the talent is there. And I think genuinely want to say this. I think because I've met him before, I know his work ethic. A lot of these players have good work ethic, but I'm saying he just hates the haters. I think he felt he was screwed. I think he wants to redeem himself this year. That's what I feel.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks there. It really depends where he ends up.
All right. Is that it for cracking the top? There's got to be other guys in here.
There's a lot of guys.
Le'Veon Bell, maybe.
Exactly. I was going to say, I mean, you got top name guys, even like you pulling Gurley out. I mean, yes, these are guys that could easily do it.
Joe Mixon, he's currently Conchiefs' top 10.
Yeah.
I mean, Mixon is interesting. He's shown some injuries in the past. Suspect offense. They may end up getting Burrow. Burrow could be a great piece of that offense. We got to see if AJ Green's back. Is he healthy? But Joe Mixon finished 13th amongst running backs, which is very impressive considering he had a terrible, terrible O-line, no receivers. He was a focal point of that offense. Quarterback situation was completely sketchy. So I like the upside of Mixon based on, a new quarterback. They're going to beef up the O-line. He could be the guy, but it's just not a guy that I get excited about Mixon,
Well, that's the thing, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there's so many guys we could pull out here. You could mention a guy like Chris Carson who finished 12th last year. Could Chris Carson make it? Of course he could. He finished 12th, so it's not hard to crack the top 10.
So yeah, it's going to be an interesting year. When you are looking at these guys, understand you want to load up. I want to give you guys a fantasy football draft tip. You want to load up on running backs this season because I'm telling you, we're going to do a wide receiver episode, and there is a ton of depth at the wide receiver position. Trust me on this one.
Yeah, and they say that this class for the draft is going to be heavy favors for the I'm blowing that one. Heavily favored for wide receivers. Like 30 of the first 100 guys are expected to be wide receivers.
There is a ton of wide receivers this season and coming into, into the NFL that are good talent that could make an immediate impact. So very deep at wide receiver when you're looking at drafts. Load up on those running backs. It's going to be very interesting to see how these mock drafts happen. For a guy like me who really targets running backs, I mean, I could end up with, Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders as my three-headed. It could be very interesting, right?
Yeah, I could easily see that happening.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. I talk all about that in that 16-round fantasy football draft solution, guys. Pre-orders right now at thefantasyfootballcounselor.com. Also a link here below. Guys, I'm excited. Fantasy Football 2020 is here. We're just kind of getting you guys, ramped up a little bit. Yeah. That's all.
By the way, we haven't even talked about it, but of course we're going to be in Vegas.
Yes.
Who wouldn't go to Vegas? And if you got some time available, get your butt to Vegas.
All right. Talk to them right there. You got a camera.
I did.
I was like, that camera?
What does it matter? They're right beside each other.
I know, but this is your close-up. Tell them to be in Vegas.
Get to Vegas.
He could shave off his ugly goatee or whatever he's got going there.
Maybe.
We should do that. We should let one fan shave your goatee.
I'll let someone shave my head. That's not really a prize.
All right, guys. Make sure you, again, leave a comment for the DeAndre Hopkins card right here. Comment, like, All right. And we'll be announcing the winner. Let's announce the winner maybe in the next show or two. We'll figure out which show.
Yeah, because like we said, we're kind of sporadic right now. Normally we do a Monday, Thursday thing, but right now we're kind of all over the map.
Yeah, we are. We're just off season.
But you'll get it. You'll get your card, okay?
All right, guys. Leave a thumbs up, and we are out.
Have a good one, everybody.